be doing a mock draft today. Going to be stress testing my projections that you saw me do on the Analyst Depot stuff back in the Twitch stream. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out. It's under the highlights. It's also on our YouTube page. We don't have enough YouTube subscribers for a custom URL yet, so just search Football Absurdity. You'll find us. And we can go ahead and get started on this in just a couple of minutes. I am Jeff Crisco. I'm your host. I am doing a draft here on Yahoo, which I'm realizing I don't have the window capture set up yet. So let me do that real quick. I'm kind of stalling here for the draft to start. So let's try this here. Let's try this. Oops, it helps if I click the right thing. Hey, that's our Discord. So that's the wrong window. I don't know why I'm having such trouble today. I'll just cut this all out when I go to the YouTube page. So here we go. Now we're in. Hello, everybody, if you're in the chat. Let's see. Let's double check that. Yep, we're in. So we got about 3 minutes until the draft room loads up. And what I am going to do today is I did a bunch of projections with Analyst Depot, like I said, and I am going to go ahead and stress test those. I pulled those over to Yahoo this morning. Hopefully it saves, because it it looked like it didn't, so I might have to be scrambling and doing this manually. I'm more concerned about the in position ranks than the out of position ranks, because with that I just did a standard like value level replacement, so that my list wasn't just all quarterbacks at the top. So if you see something that's like, why is AJ Brown the middle of the second round, don't worry about that. That is just because I just did a basic thing to sort of reorganize the ranks. So if this is your first time, welcome in. This is part of Football Absurdity. We are a fantasy football website, obviously. If you've heard of us through Beer Sheets. That's why we have our fancy little thing here in the background. Just one sec. It looks like my hype in our Discord is not working. If you want to get in on this, you can go to our Discord. It's tiny.cc/FBabsurdity. It's up there in the top corner. Sorry, I'm kind of doing multiple things here, kind of producing as well. One-man show today. But what I was saying was that you can go ahead and check out the website. We have player profiles going up now. Beer sheets are up now. I think we're in our second iteration. Kevin is. We have player profiles, all of the quarterbacks that we're going to do in the first run, which is 20 quarterbacks. We have 40 running backs up. By the end of the week, we are going to have I'm just double checking our schedule. 30 of our 50 wide receivers going to have in our first run are going to go up this Sunday. We have about 28 of those written right now. What else do we have? We have the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/footballabsurdity, which if you're here, you know what it is. And we also have a podcast, Football Absurdity Podcast. It's once a week, all off season. During the season, it's twice a week. It's free wherever you get podcasts. You can also check out our Patreon, patreon.com/footballabsurdity. Every other episode is in that feed, whether it's in the off season or in the regular season. So looks like we have got a couple of viewers in. What's up, folks? The draft should be starting in just a moment. I clicked the wrong thing again. So looks like, so I usually do this on Mondays, and it was down yesterday. Oh, great. It didn't pull over. What is the point of me being able to pre-rank my players? What is the point? I'm so annoyed. I spent this morning pre-ranking players, and it doesn't look like that pulls over. So I'm gonna have to call an audible here. Let me see if I can get this going in the next how long do we have? The next 1 minute. So let's see if I can get this going real quick, because Yahoo did not pull over my my ranks that I did. So just give me one moment here, and you guys can see if I can do this on the fly. It's a race against time. I wish I could play the Mission Impossible theme, but I don't feel like getting a DMCA strike. All right. Create cheat sheet. Can I just copy and paste? Draft. Select league. No. Positions. Your rankings. Colt McCoy is last, guys. I don't know how to explain that to you. So hopefully I can get this going and I can see my ranks in the Yahoo Draft Wizard. I don't know why it says Michael Thomas. That's correct. That looks right to me. Haha. So I got to scroll down to the bottom here. I am getting it done before the draft started. I am great at this. Okay. So what I'll have to do is go back and forth between the mock draft and this. So I got 7 picks. Okay. So I got 7 picks here. All right. Sorry if I'm not answering any of you folks, because I am frantically doing this. Okay, perfect. So we're in here now. So between picks, I'll kind of look at my ranks. So this is what Fantasy Pros is nice for. I kind of like the mock draft assistant, and that lets us know, Zachy, I won't take a wide receiver at 1.01 just to make a statement. So no, this isn't what I wanted either. Come on. HPPR ranks testing is an old iteration. You know what? Forget it. I am just going to put it in Google Sheets and we'll go back and forth between those. Google Sheets. All right, I'm next. So next up on my rankings is, let's see. Hi, it's CMC, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry is off the board. Then the next one is AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. I don't really like this tier here, so I'll go to my next running back, which is going to be Austin Eckler. So Austin Eckler here. If it seems a little out of whack, it's because, wait a second, I think Fantasy Pros did have it up right. Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown 6th. Oh my gosh, they did do it. Sweet. Okay, perfect. So I'll just be using this sideboard here for my picks. So that's much less hectic. So Fantasy Pros, very cool, very neat. So if there's any picks, I'm just going to try to pick straight off of the draft board to see what it looks like straight off my rankings, because that's the stress test. There's already one that I skipped, which was that Ezekiel Elliott is way too high. He didn't get to me, but he's like my running back 5, and that's too high for me. I'm not comfortable with that. So yeah, if you folks in the chat have any questions, go ahead, shoot them at me. I'm going to be mostly just waiting around for my picks and taking notes of guys when they come aboard. I've been working on player profiles a lot in the last couple weeks, kind of illuminated a few things for me. So Zeke at 5 seems 5. What has me super uncomfortable with that ranking? If projection-wise, he should be around running back 5, but the looming Tony Pollard, and he kind of fell off a cliff, kind of leaves me a little bit more uncomfortable. Have him, let's see, running backs. Nope, I don't have that up. It's more the looming issues where if he's my running back 5, I'm taking him in the first half of the first round of the draft, and I'm just not comfortable doing that with just what kind of feels like a cliff coming for him. He could easily fall off, and it's not that I hate that, it's that I'm more comfortable with that as 6 or 7, 8 or 9. We're really up here kind of splitting hairs. So it's not that I'm super uncomfortable with him at 5. It's that I'm more comfortable with him a little further down. It's also just a note for me to double check his projections, because I probably did something silly like projected him for 15 touchdowns. So just double checking that. So my pick's up next. Let's see what the bot suggests off my ranks. So I still have my 6th overall pick available. Experts say take Calvin Ridley, and I say screw the experts, damn the man, taking AJ Brown, wide receiver 1. So far ranks are looking good with that. Um, so hopefully on the comeback, I can get another running back or maybe George Kittle. We'll see. I tweeted earlier in the year that I wasn't leaving the second round without a wide receiver, and I've noticed that as I stress test and do mock drafts, I am a liar. I will leave so many drafts without a tight end in the second round. It makes me really uncomfortable, I have to say, which is weird because I'm usually pretty comfortable not having a top flight tight end. But oh my God, Kelsey was 202. Jesus, I'm focusing on my stuff. I'm not really paying attention to the draft. So yeah, Kelsey 202. Wow. Hmm. See, I wouldn't have taken Kelsey at 8, but I would have taken him instead of AJ Brown. All right, so some guy who jacked my nickname, El Jefe, just joined. He just joined, and then somebody took Joe Mixon, Justin Jefferson. Zach, it's at you. Ah, Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is such a value right now, and his value is starting to creep up. So he's becoming less and less of a value. The fantasy footballers hyped him earlier this week, and it made me so mad because we've been on this Michael Thomas hype train all off season, and now the fantasy footballers are going to come in and bring in, for lack of a better term, bring in normies into him. And yeah, CMC plus, yeah, all my homies love Michael Thomas. Yeah, it's true. He's an amazing, like I said it, I think it was on the podcast this week where last year I called Juju the easiest third round pick I was ever going to make until this year when Michael Thomas became a third round pick. So that's really a monster thing for value wise. Okay. Sorry. I was just trying to do something in the Discord here. Just give me one moment. Yeah, I put too many notifications in the Discord, and people are upset. You know what? Make your own Discord. All right. My turn is next. So let's see what we got. Ooh. So I'm just going straight off of ranks here. I'm not going to take Lamar Jackson at 21 because I can get him later. So let's see what we got here. Allen Robinson. That's a steal. I'm surprised DeAndre Swift isn't higher here on the suggestions list. Because Chris Carson's up there. Oh my God. I'll take DeAndre Swift. Oh no, I should have taken Chris Carson. He was higher in my ranks. I blew it. And now there's a little notification here. There's a little notification. It's yelling at me. Oh, that's cool. Chris Carson is the same bye week as DeAndre Swift. That's all right. Uh-oh. Now we're starting to get into where the ranks get. People will go, wait a second. Myles Gaskin, 16th running back overall. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, Swift has a great ceiling. There's a lot of people who are like worried about Anthony Lynn. And Anthony Lynn, he wants to use a lot of running backs. It's like, well, yeah, he used a lot of running backs in Los Angeles and San Diego and was really effective with them. Like, I'm not worried about a shared backfield, and you guys really need to move off of the thing where a shared backfield is an automatic hands-off situation. Like, everybody shares a backfield. It's almost like you think about like a crutch. Like, I used to listen to the Harris Football podcast, and Harris Football would talk about how there would be these crutches that people would talk about when they didn't really have a good argument. It's Chris Harris is his name. Used to be on ESPN. And it really feels like, he's sharing a backfield. That's a huge crutch this year. Everybody's sharing a backfield. It's not something that I particularly care about. Outside of three guys, outside of Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley if he's healthy, and Ezekiel Elliott. Not even Ezekiel Elliott. Let's see. Who's the third guy? Who am I blanking on? It's not Alvin Kamara. Oh, Derrick Henry, of course. Outside of those guys, everybody is sharing a backfield. So I'm not. I don't care. Like I don't care if they're sharing a backfield. So it's my pick. We got AJ Brown, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift. Top guy available is. I'll take my 26th overall or 26th overall player, Mark Andrews. Did that work? Hey, that worked. Okay, so I'm just going straight off my rank list. I'm just going to skip Lamar Jackson because I'm trying to see where on my rank list I end up taking Ryan Tannehill. So that's one thing that I'm going into for. So far I'm feeling decent about this team. I like Zacky's. Let's see with Zach. Let's see what Zach's doing. Michael Thomas, Chris McCaffrey, Darren Waller, absolute smash. Oh my God. AJ Brown, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Mark Andrews. That's pretty good. That's okay. Regretting AJ Brown just because there's a lot of bonkers wide receiver value in this draft. I was texting with my buddy earlier today, and he's like, I don't understand zero RB truthers this year. Or he said, I don't understand zero RB. He's not on Twitter, so he doesn't use the term truthers. I was like, yeah, I mean, Antonio Brown is... So Antonio Brown right now, I wrote the player profile for him this morning. His pace when he came back was somewhere between Keenan Allen and Deontay Johnson. Keenan Allen's like wide receiver 11 off the board. Deontay Johnson's like wide receiver 22 off the board. Debo in the fourth, unnecessary. I wish I could chat. They probably took out chats so that you couldn't say things like, why did you take Debo Samuel in the fourth, you idiot? But what I was saying was his per game pace when he came back, Antonio Brown, after taking basically a year and a half off football, almost 2 years, was between Keenan Allen and Deontay Johnson last year. He was on pace for like 90 catches, 900 something yards, and 8 touchdowns, which puts him right between those two guys. He's going as the wide receiver like 44. And I double checked that on Underdog even because I was like, oh, let's see what the smart people are doing. He's the wide receiver 45 on Underdog. He's going one wide receiver later. He's going 30 picks earlier. He's going in the 80s. But, I mean, it's hard to figure out what's going on with Antonio Brown, like in terms of his value. Like he served his suspension. Even if he doesn't serve his suspension, take him much earlier than that. He has the most catches out of the 3 wide receivers when he came back. And it's not like it's a question mark in that room because you've got Chris Godwin and Keenan Allen both going in the top 15 wide receivers. So it's just an Antonio Brown question, and that's what I don't understand. Like, that's what I don't get. Like, why is Antonio Brown so, like... Why are people so scared of Antonio Brown is I guess the best way to put it. Because it's not, like I said, it's not that room. It's not confusion in that room. It's just like for some reason people hate Antonio Brown. And I get he had a very public mental health crisis and breakdown. Like, incredibly public. And there's the bad guy factor, but people don't seem to care about the bad guy factor for other players. So let's see. Again, I'm going to let Lamar Jackson slip. I will go ahead and take, since I need another wide receiver, I'm not going to, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take Mike Davis here. So Mike Davis, yeah, I have him as running back 19. Why do I have him as running back 19? Because I don't think anybody's coming. We've run out of decent players to come. We're down to the point where we are theory crafting players getting cut to come take over for him. Like, that's where we are in the whole, like, we have to worry about Mike Davis. We're making things up, basically, to worry about Mike Davis for. Is he the best running back in the world? Absolutely not. Did he show with Carolina that he can be a pretty decent running back one? Yeah, he did. And I was out on Mike Davis. I'm not afraid of Javian Hawkins, please. He's the next James Robinson, because every year there's a UDFA running back who blows up. even though it's like 4 in the last 30 years. Um, Zach, some teams had, I mean, teams had like, some teams had like 13 picks. They missed out on him 13 times. He's the next, he's going to be Tom Brady. He's going to be the Tom Brady of running backs. So yeah, I'm not worried about Javian Hawkins. People get too all up in their feelings about trying to find analogies for what happened last year. We're always trying to figure out, like, trying to look at last year and being like, all right, last year was the only year that fantasy football happened. So we have to sit here and figure out what, how can we map fantasy football guys onto this year? And so let's see. You know what? These ranks are looking not too shabby. But I don't know who I want to take here. I'll take Kenny Golladay. So I don't know why I did that. I don't need. Okay, he's my wide receiver too. I'll take that. I'm not feeling great about Kenny Golladay this year. Zach, how are you feeling? Or how's the chat feeling about Kenny Golladay this year? All right, no answers. Yeah, so Zach doesn't love him. It's a situation where it's like there are certain players this year where I'm just gently, kindly just saying no thank you to. No thanks. I don't have much of an interest in that, in having an opinion on him. And it's a lot of guys that I've jammed into the late teens. Miles Sanders is another one. I'm just like, no thanks. I don't feel like having an opinion on this player. Hunter Henry is another one. Zach says he offers solid upside, but never commanded a real, quote, alpha. I hate that word too. Target share. People are enamored with him and Daniel Jones, but DJ isn't as good at the deep ball as people think. He's not as good at a lot of things as people think, myself included. I know it's weird for me to say that, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I there's a lot of downside here. And I would have much rather had the wide receiver who went one pick before and Brandon Ayuk. Homer. But it's just one of those things where it's just like, he's good. He's really good. Like, I can't say that he's not really good, but you know, wide receivers who switch teams tend to struggle their first year. There was a whole study on that a couple years ago with several high-profile guys switch teams in 1 year. And, you know, it's just that you got to get that connection. And hopefully he gets it with Daniel Jones, and hopefully Daniel Jones doesn't fall apart because, you know, things get really ugly there in a hurry. But luckily, he's my wide receiver too in a 2 wide receiver draft. So I'll take a shot on that because coming back, I'm going to be able to take a shot on a lot of other guys. Javonte Williams, 73rd. Wow. Let's see what underdog has him. All right. Javonte Williams, 64. So that's a good value pick. I generally don't like underdog because I think that best ball leads to slightly different ADP, and I think it's good if you're going to be drafting with other people who use underdog and who are sharps. But if you're trying to figure out just what the average person is doing, I'm not a big fan of that. So I forget. Yeah, Underdog loves Javonte. Well, Underdog loves Javonte because Underdog is just fantasy Twitter just drafting at each other. And fantasy Twitter is just like going so high on Javonte. And I don't hate Javonte. Javonte 75 or 73, it shocks me because I hadn't seen it there before on a Yahoo draft. So maybe it's the people getting more in line with the sharps. Fantasy Pros does not like my ranks because it keeps telling me to draft other people above them. So I'll do the needful here. I will take my boy Brandon Cooks as my wide receiver 3. He's starting to inch up drafts. I've noticed people are getting more up on him. But back to Javonte Williams. I mean, Melvin Gordon is fine. Like, that's the best word you can use to describe Melvin Gordon. Like, he's fine. He's competent. He does a little bit of everything. that you want a running back to do. But he's not like, he doesn't blow you away in any one particular aspect. So with Javonte Williams, I mean, he might just be a more talented player than Melvin Gordon already. I think eventually he will be the better player, but I think he might already be. And I'm trying to see. All right, so I wrote his player profile last week, and he was actually pick 70 then, Javonte Williams was. So I just haven't seen it in a draft yet, but it's happening. Oh, here we go. Here's some wasted picks. Aaron going tight end. Hi, Tyler. Oh, do we think that Aaron's a Rams fan? Higbee and the Rams. Higbee at 84. Boy. Glad I got out of the tight end game when I did. DJ Chark, wasted pick, especially with Jamar Chase and still on the board. Jalen Hurts. I'm going to pass on Jalen Hurts. Where's Tannehill in this draft? Tannehill. I'm just going to get him. All right, so that's 8th round. 8th round. I could have potentially gotten him in the 9th round, but if I lose out on Ryan Tannehill, my whole draft falls apart. Like, that's not true. My whole draft wouldn't fall apart, but I'd have to fall back to either Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, or Joe Burrow, which are guys that I, to various levels, I like them in the like wide receiver or quarterback like 10 to 15 range, but Tannehill I think is due for a big year. So get Tannehill. Higbee, he's did Higbee go before her? Mike Gesicki and Tyler Higbee went before Justin Herbert. Wow. Okay. Actually, this might be a good sign. Is when somebody takes Herbert, that's my sign to take Tannehill because I have them back to back in my ranks at quarterback. I might be the highest on Ryan Tannehill. I'm too scared to look. Let's look. Let's see if I'm the highest on Ryan Tannehill. How high do you think is too high on Ryan Tannehill? Ryan Tannehill, Fantasy Pros. It's so funny, you start out on Fantasy Pros to get like aggregate rankings. And as you learn and as you grow and as you learn more, you go to say, all right, let's see how high I am. Zach, he's my quarterback 6. All right. If Fantasy Pros listen to me, which they don't, if I was included in this, I would be the industry high on Ryan Tannehill. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. You got to be the industry high on somebody, or what are we doing here? You're not taking any stands. You're just sort of going with the flow. Oh God. I want to see how high I am on Brandon Cooks compared to the industry. I'm scared. He was my wide receiver 18. Don't forget. Oh, I'm not the highest. Oh, wait, this is standard. Hold on. I'm not the highest. Who's higher on him than me? I got to go give that guy a high five. Adam Murfitt at 5-yard rush. Shout outs to Adam Murfitt at 5-yard rush. I got to find him on Twitter because this guy knows what's up. Adam Murfitt. Oh, I don't know which one of those guys it is. All right, so 5 picks to my turn. So quick rundown of my team. Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Kenny Golladay, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Mark Andrews, Mike Davis, Brandon Cooks. I actually really like this team. So far, so good on stress testing my projections. There's not a whole lot that has me scratching my head. This actually kind of feels like a beer sheets team where it's a lot of value up at the top. So we'll see how the depth goes from there. Man, I could have waited on Tannehill. If people aren't taking Jalen Hurts, they're not going to take Ryan Tannehill yet. Because Tannehill's like quarterback 12 by ADP. It's wild. It doesn't make any sense. Did I reach on Tannehill? Probably. Let's see how many quarterbacks are off the board. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so he was the 11th off the board. Because no one. Oh wait, he was the 10th off the board. So that's not bad. That's actually threading the needle very nicely. Justin Tucker, baby, pick 100. We've done it, everybody. The kicker who has never finished first on Yahoo scoring. You could look it up on FF today. I didn't believe it either. So let's see what my ranks. I know what my ranks say already. All right, so I will go ahead and I'll pull the trigger on Antonio. Pull the trigger on Antonio Brown. Is that higher than he's going? Yes, but not by much. Let's see. That would be pick 104. It's a little bit higher than he goes normally, but not too much higher. So far, my team has some trends. I've got a couple Titans. I got a couple of A Browns. Uh, A Brown, but think I'm pretty much done at wide receiver. I need to load up on running backs, and I think this is where doing the ranks will help a lot. Which is I can see here, Jamal Williams, Michael Carter, James Conner still sticking around. So James Conner, it's one of those things where there's some players that are getting like double and triple knockdown. And I don't believe I don't care about the camp report that says, it's the beat reporter says that the camp battle is supposed to be in name only. Like, what does that doesn't mean anything. And it probably came out of a mailbag. So many things we love to respond to things that come out of mailbags. Well, I stopped trusting mailbags 3 years ago when I watched Matt Barrows. I believe it was Matt Barrows, one of the Matts that covers the 49ers. My father-in-law says, you don't believe anything 49ers until a Matt says it. He said, if this, and this happen, then Marquise Goodwin would be on the outs on the roster. But I don't see that happening. Roto-World turned it around and said, Marquise Goodwin on the chopping block, ? And it's one of the reasons I don't go to Roto-World anymore. I get all my news from Twitter because Roto-World spins it too much, and it's weird to say I go to Twitter for my news. James Conner or Michael Carter? Oh, this is a stress test. I'm gonna go James Conner. But I need to write that down. Double check James Conner and Michael Carter's ratings. So James Conner. Okay, good. Zach makes me feel better. He said he would go Conner over Carter. James Conner is interesting because I think people gave up on paying attention on what he was doing after he did really poorly in week 1 last year. Because he averaged, hold on, let me see if our player profile is up. All absurdity. 2021, is it up or is this my test? Oh, it went up earlier this week. So James Conner, over the last 3 seasons, he averaged 14 carries, 3.4 receptions, blah, 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 blah. Kenyon Drake did basically the same thing he did with Arizona. And last year, James Conner was a better player, just James Conner. Twice as many yards per touch created than Kenyon Drake while facing more defenders in the box. Higher breakaway rate and converted his goal line carries at a higher clip than Drake. They're different players, but their production on the field is basically the same. Yes, Zach, that's exactly where I was going with this. Zach says the red zone looks he'll get in Arizona are juicy. I would say spicy, but juicy is okay. Edmonds has never shown the ability to be an early down back or a goal line back. And I put this out on Twitter like 3 weeks or a month ago, and I asked it to The Lateral, my favorite podcast. Shout out The Lateral, shout out Herms and Malcolm. And I said, what if James Conner is just Kenyon Drake? Like, what if they brought him in to do that? And I don't buy the whole, they only paid him $1.75 million. What that tells me is that nobody was bidding for James Conner's services. That doesn't tell me that they value James Conner at $1.75 million. That tells me that no team valued James Conner at $1.76 million or $2 million. That doesn't mean that the Cardinals would be very stupid to go out and be like, well, we think he's a $5 million a year back. Nobody's offering him even $3 million a year, but we'll go ahead and offer him $5 million. Like, that's bad GMing. Good GMing is getting a player cheap. And I think that's what they did with James Conner. James Conner averaged last year, I believe it was, he played, 11 games, might have been 12. He averaged about 75 yards per game with a really bad offensive line. And the Cardinals upgraded their offensive line this offseason too. So I don't really see an argument against James Conner as a running back 3. It's injuries. That's the only argument against. And if you can reliably predict who will get injured, except for Will Fuller, if you can predict who can reliably get injured, then go to Vegas and bet, because you can see the future. So that's why, Cooks, I'm not worried about his injuries either, mostly because people are over exaggerating his injury history. So why can I not find, there it is. I was trying to find this so I could update my roster. Antonio Brown, James Conner. Oh my God, this is so in my home league, there's certain players that are associated with certain people. This is such a Jeff draft. Oh my God, this is what I was hoping would happen. Man, Hines needs to go higher. This is why I'm doing this. Nyheim Hines, 36. He might need to go higher, but I'll get Jamal Williams. I'll get DeAndre Swift. No matter who, I can't be wrong. I can't be wrong here. It's one of those play both sides. So no matter who wins, I come out on top situations. So I'm actually really happy with this roster. I did research for article that Walker and I are putting out about pass catching running backs. And it's probably going to come out closer to the season, more into the heat of draft season. But my half of it, because his is going to be like ADP review and stuff, so we need to do it a little bit later. But I wrote my half of it already, and here's the long and the short of it. I looked at guys. I pulled a data set of the last 5 years, running backs who got at least 55% of their production through the air, and who averaged fewer than 7.5 touches or carries per game, and who went outside the first 50 picks, because that screened out Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson, and Austin Eckler, I believe was the third guy. 2020 Austin Eckler. No, I don't remember what they screened out, but it screened out high-end guys. And the data set I was left with was backs who went on average like the 115th pick, something like that, who finished on average about running back 24. So they represent the biggest sort of value add. You know what I got to do here. Even though I said I had enough wide receivers, I got to put a ring on it. Marvin Jones. So now my wide receivers are done. Got to get wife material, Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones Jr. I think this is going to be a draft where I don't take a kick. Oh, no, I got to do it for the rating. Shoot. Okay, I was going to say where I don't take a kicker or defense. So handcuff Josh Kelly. No, thank you. That's wrong. Josh Kelly is not the handcuff. Should be Justin Jackson. So running backs left, you can see kind of rating the pass catchers high. J.D. McKissick. Jerick McKinnon, that is way too high. What are you doing there, Jerick McKinnon? Jerick McKinnon. Oh, J.J. Zacharyson did that? God. It's hard not being as smart as the smartest guys in the space. You just come along and you're like, oh, me too. Maybe if I learned how to code, I could be one of the smarter guys in the space. Deshaun Watson's still on the board. I'm very proud of this draft. Not a huge fan of Deshaun Watson, the person. So let's see what I got coming up. God, I should have taken more running backs earlier. I don't like J.D. McKissick. I know I have him as 37, but I think I was talking to Kevin, who runs Beer Sheets. He's a Washington football team fan. And it's kind of the consensus. It feels like J.D. McKissick might get squeezed out because there's too many close targets now. With Curtis Samuel there, full season Logan Thomas, and Antonio Gibson step forward. But he could still probably get around 70 targets. So he might be a good value there. But I'm not Walker. I'm not just going to glitch out and take a pass-catching running back. He said that. I'm not talking behind his back. But Jerick McKinnon, that is too high. Too high. I don't know. Tua, I don't need a quarterback, right? Yeah, I have Tanny. I don't need a quarterback. I have one more pick. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a Walker, and I'm just going to take James White. James White's my favorite pass catching running back this year in terms of a value proposition because he is going super late, like in every type of draft. In every type of draft, he's going super late. Underdog, Fantasy Pros. 177 running back 51 in Underdog. Running back 54, 165 in Fantasy Pros. This is why I don't buy that Underdog so much sharper, because for a lot of the players, they're only a few spots apart. I'm more concerned about which running back he is. I'm more concerned about this number than this number. Because this number kind of comes down to how you build your rosters. So running back 54. So I'm just going to sit. I'm going to twiddle my thumbs because this is my take on James White. Last year was the absolute worst case scenario for James White in every single possible way. I believe it was the second week of the season. His parents were involved in a really bad wreck. He lost one of his parents, and his other parent, I forget which is which, and I don't want to guess, was on life support for a long time. And it was the COVID year, and they stunk out loud. So he came back and probably didn't care about football. And a lot of people say, oh, he doesn't care about football as kind of a judging thing, or like something bad about the person. But I think it's perfectly fine when you're dealing with a greater life situation to not care about football. They've worked very hard to get in their position, but at the end of the day, this is still just a job. It's still just a job at the end of the day. So, like to paraphrase Marshawn Lynch, you got to take care of your chicken and your mentals. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your family. And James White lost one of his parents, came very close to losing his other one, and came back to a team that was garbage. He also came back to a team with a running quarterback who did not want to dump it off. So if we see Mac Jones sooner rather than later, we're probably going to go back to an offense that looks more like probably a dumbed down version of what Belichick was running with Brady, which means jump off to James White. Now, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Jacoby Myers, N'Keal Harry. I don't really believe in Jacoby Myers or N'Keal Harry. I was a huge N'Keal Harry believer, and he burned me, and I just think that Rodrigo Blankenship. Nice. I had somebody send me a picture of Rodrigo Blankenship and say he looks like me, and it was the most offensive thing I've ever seen in my whole life. But the Patriots, they're going to look more like they look like with Brady. And if they don't, I can just chuck James White into the river. But if they do, I mean, James White is consistently a top 20 running back with Brady. I don't think he's going to be that with Brady or with Mac Jones, but I think running back 2 flex play discussion, he's in there, and I'm getting him so late. And I'm realizing that by doing this, so the bench that I've built, I like my bench wide receivers except for Marvin Jones. I wish Marvin Jones was Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams might still even be on the board. Nope, somebody took Mike Williams. But I'm kind of starting to debrief because I'm taking a DST next. It's whichever DST is projected for the most points. I do not care about DSTs, particularly for this exercise. So I like my starters. I'm realizing I have Mike Davis on here twice. That second Mike Davis should be DeAndre Swift. Oh man, I like it even more. I was looking at Mike Davis twice. I forgot I had DeAndre Swift on my roster. So a lot of people draft as like, oh, this is my running back or my backup. This is my backup that if my starter goes down, I have somebody that I can plug in there. That's where handcuffs come from. That's a fear of not losing. What I like to have, and this is why the Marvin Jones pick is kind of bugging me, I'd rather have had Mike Williams there, is I want to be put in tough situations every week. I want to be put in hard start situations every week. I want to be wrong sometimes. I want to stare at 13 and a half points on my bench and my starter only started 11. Ideally, that's where I end up, where I'm winning, but I'm frustrated because I didn't win by more. And the way that you do that is by getting upside guys in your bench. But then you kind of have to weigh, what are the odds of a guy breaking out? You know, what are the chances? So I always like to talk about, and I don't think I've actually talked about it at this stream, is that fantasy football production comes in three. There's three legs to fantasy football production. There's the player's talent, there's the player's opportunity, and there's the way the offense is run. 2 and 3 are kind of the same, but by 3 I mean more like, are they pass first, run first? You know, what's their offensive philosophy? And the way that a sleeper ends up is that you have an idea that one of those 3 things is going to be different than the rest of the drafters think. Oh my God, there was a run on, yeah, of course, Dallas side. There was a run on DSTs, so I guess Arizona, like JJ Watt, maybe. So if one of those 3 things changes, that's how you get a sleeper or a bust. If their opportunity isn't there, they're a bust. If all of a sudden they fall off, that's a bust. If their offensive philosophy of the team changes, that's a bust. If all of a sudden they get a ton of targets that you didn't think they were going to get, that's a sleeper. J.D. McKissick last year is the perfect example. Nobody saw J.D. McKissick coming. I think I tweeted in like week 4, I was like, are we just not going to talk about that J.D. McKissick has like 26 targets in the last 3 weeks? Like, nobody cared. And he ended up being really, really good in your PPR and your half PPR leagues and stuff. So, Mark Andrews, fine, tight end. Kenny Golladay, not a guy that I've ever really drafted, but I like the value there. AJ Brown, I love it. I love my top 4 picks here. Tannehill, Eckler, Swift, Brown. If I can come out of every draft with those 4 guys, I'd be very happy. Kenny Golladay, okay. Mark Andrews, okay. Mike Davis as a flex, I like that. I like the upside of both Cooks and Antonio Brown. Those are both guys I think are going too late. James Conner's just kind of a solid upside guy. Jamal Williams, I talked about it. Running back 24 on average, these pass catching backs. They're the best value in every single draft. Marvin Jones Jr., that's the only pick I don't like, which is don't tell Waleed. Because there's just, his upside's what, like wide receiver 30? I don't know. Like Mike Williams could turn in like a top 15 season pretty easily. And that's actually, Mike Williams is the perfect example. So talent and opportunity, both there. We already know he'll get targets. We already know that he's a good 50-50 guy. Yeah, Zach, you're right. He doesn't have high season-long upside, but the spike weeks for MJJ, I always remember it was like 3 touchdowns in 1 week. But with Mike Williams, there's, you know, if he runs more underneath routes like they think, oh my God. So the pros hate my draft. The pros think it's bad. Strongest position, tight end, weakest. My strongest is tight end. Interesting. Okay. Well, screw the experts. I'm the expert here. James Conner was considered a steal by the experts. Your cheat sheet. By my cheat sheet. This is what I wanted. So based off of the guys that I wanted, these are the players that I'm going to be able to get at extreme value based off how I think they'll be. Cooks, Tannehill, Antonio Brown, James Conner, Jamal Williams, Marvin Jones. And if I had to write a list of 25 guys just off the top of my head that I think are great values, I think all those guys end up on that list. So that makes me really happy. I don't care what the pros say, but this is what makes me happy. I'm happy with my team. Okay, everybody's got to be happy with their team. What's up, Evan? It's PPR, so he has a decent bye week fill-in. Are you talking about Marvin Jones? Anyways, I'm happy with this. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so he's talking about Marvin Jones. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, I don't care about this because this is what other people think. I'm not in the business of calibrating with what other people think. Okay, I could just print out Zach is number 1 in everything. Hey, look at Zach, you're number 2 in bench. Sorry, bud. Let's look at Zach's team. Final draft. No, rosters. Stafford, CMC, Javonte. Oh, Zach, you took Javonte. No wonder you were so in on talking about Javonte. Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp, steal 1 and 2. These are the absolute steals of the draft right here. So you're 1 and 2. Darren Waller, Deontay Johnson, Broncos DST, suck up. Higgins, Chase, Chenault. I'll leave Chenault aside. Marquise Brown, Jonnu Smith, Kenny Gainwell. That's a good pick. He's going to be one of those pass catcher guys. Kenneth Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell annoyed the hell out of me, and this is I'm gonna complain about Scott Fishbowl for a couple minutes. My draft room was preposterous. They were ridiculous. Every single time I was like 7 picks out, and Gainwell is a great pick, and mentally he's starting to pick up steam for me. I haven't written about him yet, really, except for the rookie roundup. So he hasn't flown up my mental board yet, but he's probably well on his way. Every time somebody takes Gainwell, I'm like, oh, great pick, and then I forget about him when I'm drafting. Scott Fishbowl, man, the Killers division. Oh my God. Every single time there's like 7 picks out, I'll pick 6 guys. I'll be like, okay, one of these, like, I like these 6 guys. And by I mean, like, I was queuing up like Ramondre Stevenson, Justin Jackson, Kendrick Bourne, just like round 20 guys. And they would all go. They would all be gone. I'm just like, what? Like, somebody drafted Ramondre Stevenson. I'm like, nobody likes Ramondre Stevenson. I'm the only one who likes Ramondre Stevenson. And I don't even like him that much. I just think there's a chance that Bill Belichick looks at him like he's his next LeGarrette Blount. So that was frustrating to me in the Scott Fishbowl. And I'm not a big fan of my team in the Scott Fishbowl, so I'm not even going to show you guys. There's ways to find it if you want to see my team, but I'm not a fan of how things shook out. I was getting sniped pick after pick after pick after pick. And I accidentally took Trey Sermon in the 10th instead of Jared Goff. And that's something that will only make you mad in Scott Fishbowl. Because I screwed up my queue on my fantasy league. So my 3rd quarterback is Drew Lock instead. Luckily, I have Brady and Cousins. So I'm not likely to lose many weeks unless one of them gets hurt. And if one of them gets hurt, I'm screwed anyways. So whatever. I'll just have to worry about their bye weeks when it gets there. So... Full Tilt and Scott Fishbowl it's a nightmare. Scott Fish does a great job of putting together these leagues because even the fans are hard. Even the people who are listed themselves as fans, they're smart. They're good. They get it. They know what they're doing. So you can't really slip one past the goalie. And where I screwed up in Scott Fishbowl, my draft is done, so I'm looking back on it now thinking. Where I screwed up in Scott Fishbowl was I kept trying to squeeze one past the goalie. Instead of taking guys that I wanted, I was like, oh, I bet that guy will come back next round, but this guy probably won't come back next round. Even though I like player B more than player A has a better chance of getting drafted, and they're almost neck and neck. Player B would universally get drafted before I picked again. And I was picking at 4. So this was between like the bounce back where it'd go 4, I'd pick 9th in the round and then I pick 4th in the next round. So there's only 6 picks between it. But Scott Fishbowl is a nightmare. And now this is turning into my therapy hour. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to shut it off. I don't care about this, but I'm very happy about this. So thank you, Zach, for doing this with me. Thank you, Evan, for popping in here at the end. I do have some things that I have to stress test. Jerick McKinnon, way too high. There's no reason he should be running back 41. Absolutely zero reason. James Conner, Michael Carter. I feel okay about that. Zeke is too high, and my wide receivers are never wrong. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Evan. And I will be back tomorrow with Evan around 1 o'clock. Evan has never used a beer sheet, so we're going to walk through doing a beer sheet with him and probably do that pretty quick, and then we're going to work on converting beer sheet tiers over into auction values because Evan's our auction guy. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch us kind of talk through. So thanks, everybody. Again, the website, footballabsurdity.com. Player profiles are going out now. You can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/footballabsurdity. $3 a month gets you every other episode of the podcast. Right now we're doing division previews. Last week's was really good, AFC South. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Crisco, at FBallAbsurdity. They are right that way. I can't do this. It's backwards. There we go. That way. They're that way. if you liked today, Twitch Prime, we'd really appreciate it. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free. You can give us a Twitch Prime, and we will get a little bit back to help keep this thing going. So thanks again, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, and then Evan will be mock draft. I'll actually be on a stream later on this week with Evan. I'm just going to keep plugging until the viewers go down to 0. I'll be on a stream this week with Evan as well. I'm going to be doing my first salary cap draft. I haven't done one yet this year, so I'm going to see if I can just hop right in and see how I can do. So now I will end it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good one.